Hey Punkoutlaw, it's Buddha Gem, and appreciate the dialogue and the videos very much. So thank you. And well, before I get into this, let me just put something out there for anybody who's watching this. For some reason, I cannot do a direct video response. Every time I click on it, the window pops up, shows me in the little camera thing. I click on allow, but I have this message at the bottom of the screen, where the camera screen, that says please enter video information to begin recording. Now all the information is over there to the left, the title, the description, the tags. It's already all there. Still, it's not allowing me to record. I can erase all that information, input new information, still nothing. So if anybody knows why that is, please let me know, because it's kind of frustrating. Now, back to the conversation here. Certainly, we are going to have to carry on certain aspects of what the state does. That goes without question. The question, of course, is which functions of the state do we continue, which do we terminate? And for me, titles and deeds would be one thing we would terminate. It's not that I don't. I certainly understand that a society could and might develop an institution to keep track of, property, like you said. It's possible. But given what we know about, the fraud that develops with such systems, I don't see why a society would do that. Take our banking industry, pre-Federal Reserve. It was a complete mess. You had banks all over the country issuing fake stock certificates and banknotes and currencies, and it was just a complete mess. And it takes an incredible amount of resources to figure out what's fake, what's not. My own experience transferring from California to New York in local 608, I had to bring an original birth certificate. So I showed up with my original birth certificate from California, and they didn't believe it. They I guess it's like they thought it was a fraudulent copy. I don't know what. It was weird. Like, they really didn't think that was the original. And they almost, I don't know, they wanted me to get something else, and it took a lot of arguing with them to, this is my original birth certificate. They just had never seen one, and every one of us has a birth certificate that probably looks a little different, and you can imagine with titles, the same thing, like you said, two people show up with a title that says they own that piece of property. Now this institution that you've developed in your municipality has to have access to resources and money in order to figure out and investigate who's right and who's wrong. It's incredibly resource dependent. It takes a lot of time and energy to weed out who's right, who's wrong, and it just opens itself up to fraud. So faced with that, or determining ownership by active use, possession, I don't see why a society would pick one over, pick title and deed over active use. It's much harder to pretend that you've lived in a house for 10, 20 years than it is to drop a document that says you own such and such plot of land. So it's not that I don't think that a society might or could develop such an institution. Just given the facts, I don't see why a society would. Now, on to assholes. Yeah, they're assholes, but I think it's hard for us to wrap our mind around the fact that much of what we see is a product of the current society we live in, which develops and encourages antisocial behavior, and it works against any kind of system that encourages or develops social behaviors. For instance, in all kinds of municipalities across the country, laws have been developed to prevent people from sharing food. That is, they were developed in response to groups like Food Not Bombs feeding the hungry. And we had that problem in Santa Monica, where the city council passed this ordinance you couldn't share food, and it was basically to prevent us from feeding hungry people. And there's been similar laws like in Florida. I've read about them quite a few times now. So there's, you have the state actually acting to prevent us from developing, more just and cooperative institutions, like sharing food with people who are hungry, or to take a bigger example, in the labor movement, if the domestic workers union goes on strike, the carpenters can't show any solidarity with them by going on strike too. That is, the whole idea of a general strike, which is what syndicalists believe in, is actually illegal in this country. And even on a smaller scale, like say the Teamsters are having a problem, or the international, the Brotherhood of Electricians, if they're having a problem, we can't act in solidarity with them. Secondhand boycotts are illegal. There's all kinds of legal. There's a legal framework that prevents practicing and developing solidarity and cooperation. These are just two examples. Not being able to share food with people, not being able to stand in solidarity with other working people when they're facing a problem, like the writers' strike or the UAW. We can't stand. It's actually against the law. So that tells you something. Because if we were just naturally assholes, right, we didn't care about anybody else, we wouldn't have to develop laws like this that actually prevent us from standing together with each other. But the fact that they do this, and I'm just telling you about the tip of the iceberg, tells me at least that there's something more to this. That the things I'm talking about, solidarity and cooperation, are really always right below the surface. I mean, we see this when there's a natural disaster. People often say, "Oh, it sucks. It takes a natural disaster to bring these out." It's not that it takes a natural disaster to bring those feelings out. At least in my opinion, it's that when the natural disaster hits, those feelings in us are so strong that at that point we don't give a fuck what state power's going to tell us or say to us. We know people need help, and we're going to help them. It's like such an extreme example that we don't allow ourselves to be oppressed. We're going to go help people that need to be helped. And we see that in in less extreme circumstances. But then the oppression, state laws or municipal laws against sharing food with people, it has an effect. You think, well, okay, whatever, I'll go over here and feed people. They don't have a law over here, but it discourages you. So that's my 2 cents, and appreciate the dialogue. If you have any idea why I can't do the direct video upload, please let me know, and hope to hear back from you. Peace, brother.